Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. It's the day after Monday, so we know everybody had a good weekend, and we know everybody had a great day yesterday because we were here and we had a fantastic conversation. But today we're going to have another fantastic conversation with our guest, Bethany, who is a regular community member. Bethany's in Scotland, and she's going to be chatting with us shortly. But while she's getting a couple technical things put together, I will tell everybody about TLD Chat, Training, Learning, and Development Chat, here every morning, 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. UK Time. And if you did not know, we have a membership available for you guys to join, which is fantastic. Get some extra goodness out of becoming a TLDC member. We also have our event coming up in January 29th and 30th in lovely Phoenix, Arizona. And we're going to be talking about a lot of the things that we talk about here on TLD Chat, but of course in a lot more depth with some experts, and do some hands-on activities, and really start digging deep into the work of training and learning and development, which is what we all do. So thank goodness that we're all here to help each other out and to move the process along. So those of you who may not know this particular fun fact as well, TLDC also has a blog. And we recently had a guest blog post by Bethany, and that's going to be what we're going to talk about today. Bethany wrote this blog post on what is the imposter phenomenon. And I think everybody here at one time or another could possibly relate to this. And the article was so well received, we decided to have Bethany on to talk about it and let everybody share their imposter stories. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning. Can you hear me fine?
I can hear you great.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So I think every once in a while it seems like the bandwidth might drop a little bit on your end, but we'll just work with it.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. It'll be good. So first of all, let's just start off with the fact that I don't think we've had you jump into the video before. So why don't you tell people who you are and give us a little bit of background on yourself, and like I always ask, how you got into this crazy field of L&D.
As everybody did, by accident. Noel kind of by choice, actually. But I work for an bespoke e-learning and development company here in Scotland. And I am originally American. So for all of you that don't understand why my accent isn't different, it's because I'm actually from Portland, Oregon. And so basically I came over to Scotland to do my master's in medical anthropology, and then met my partner and stayed and did a lot of customer service type jobs, where usually kind of call center based. So yeah, Mike, that's what you get for assuming. So I did a bunch of customer service type jobs, and a lot of the time I would become like an SME or a trainer in it quite quickly, because, it wasn't that difficult of jobs to do. And I just kind of realized that was kind of what I was doing well and what I was good at. And I had a friend who worked for this company in their QA team, and said, why don't you try instructional design? Because it seems like you're already doing that. You're just, you're not getting seen for it. So here I am. They took a chance on me last December. And so I've been doing instructional design for, 7-8 months now. Yay. And
awesome.
It's been really good, and I've been doing a lot of kind of learning on my own. And so TLD Chat was one of my places that I gain a lot of value from, and so that's why I've been so active. And then obviously wanted to help out as much as I could, and what I could do was right. So here I am. Put a few things out there, and thankfully everybody's quite nice about it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Well, yeah, I mean, it's an incredible blog post. And also, I just wanted to point out, we have Kristin Anthony back in the fourth square this morning. How you doing, Kristin?
Howdy, all right.
Good, good. Your audio is a little on the low side. I'm not sure, maybe it's something is set funny, but not sure what that is. But yeah, so just to kind of set the stage again, so the blog post, if you want to hit it up, I think Luis dropped it into the chat. The title is "What is the Impostor Phenomenon?" And Bethany mentioned Kristin in the article, and so in the blog post, and so it's nice to have both of you here and to talk about it. So let's just jump right in. And while Kristin's checking her audio there, did you reset your audio settings there?
So I tried a different mic. How does that sound?
I don't know. Let's ask the crowd. Does it sound good for you, Bethany? Okay, good. I can hear you. It's just a little bit quieter than Bethany's. So I don't know if it's the system or what. So we'll go with it.
Probably me. Okay, I'll speak loudly.
Yeah, that's all right. That works well. So all right. So this imposter phenomenon, one of the things that struck me is that it's actually a thing. Like somebody actually like coined the term and came up with it and did research on it and actually, decided that it actually is a real thing. Bethany, can you go a little bit deeper on that for us, or what did you find out when you were writing about it?
The funny thing, Brent, about you'll learn about psychology and anthropology is everything is a thing. Like everything you think and feel and everything is a thing.
There's a word for it, right?
If you're not the first one to coin it, then you're a little bit late to the game. But I think that happens in L&D as well. So so the imposter phenomenon basically goes back to Dr. Pauline Clance, and it was kind of her observations in a clinical setting in 1985 is when she first initially kind of penned the phrase. And some of my research is kind of going back to that kind of initial thing. So that would be kind of more psychology and kind of just based on our feelings of how we kind of create ourself. So it's talking about kind of your feelings of self-efficacy. So what, if I'm going a bit too deep here, I apologize, but it basically means
everybody can Google the words they don't know. So
I know. Okay. So, I mean, it means that we, usually the people that are kind of go through this kind of a cycle, they have kind of tasks that they have to do. So whatever it is, it can be related to something usually that they're passionate about or that they need to do, but it can be, they go through that, they have this task that they got to do. They have a lot of anxiety, self-doubt, and worry. So they kind of go down two paths. You either procrastinate, which I'm definitely bad with, or you over prepare, which I'm also bad with. So if you don't know what you're doing, so you just, you kind of try to do as much as you can in order to make it so that nobody can ask you a question you don't know. And then either you procrastinate, you're like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And then finally you kind of get it done, but it's always, you're never 100% proud of what you've done. So you finally do that accomplishment. You get your positive, and then you get your positive or negative feedback. And the negative feedback usually gets received as, well, of course, this was going to be negative because I either procrastinated or I didn't do my research enough. And then if somebody gives you positive, you either discount that on the fact of they don't know what they're talking about, or you go into the place of, oh, it was a fluke. It was luck that I came across that, So let's say you've written that paper at 3 a.m. in the morning before school started and you get a really good grade and you're like, it was because my brain was like on point that time. I'll never be able to recreate that again. So it's this kind of a feeling of never really kind of being worthwhile and worth it, and kind of, it just kind of keeps going. A lot of people describe it, especially like if you hear celebrities talking about it, it's being at the front of the room and everybody finding out that you're not supposed to be there. as you're talking, it's like, you shouldn't be up there. You don't have anything to say.
Yeah. Kristin, what did you think about this after you read it or started having the conversation with Bethany about it?
Well, I actually haven't talked to Bethany about it yet.
Sorry.
No problem.
I read it and then I had to put it kind of in the blog for that. But I think actually, weirdly enough, I commented on your blog like months ago, in my kind of fandom, being like, thanks. Like, I totally know what you feel. And then I thought I'd have to kind of talk about that. So I apologize for not asking first.
No problem. So yeah, my blog post was sort of about my desire to speak at conferences. And as a newbie, I tried and I failed. And as a newbie, you sort of get downtrodden. And just the whole thing, I think, when I really examined myself about it, the problem was me comparing myself to other people, particularly people who have been in the industry for a very long time. So absolutely. I know I don't know what I'm talking about. And I think I've sort of embraced at this point that total amateurism in sort of everything that I do. And I think that one of the ways that I've been using my blog is sort of as catharsis, is I talk about all of my failures. Because I think that part of why imposter syndrome happens is because you get the gurus and the people with experience, and all you see is that shiny, look at me, I'm good and I can talk about it. But nobody really talks about all the times that they failed. And so that's one of the things that I really wanted to do.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, I know all the things that you're talking about, Kristin, I've definitely been there, done that. And when Bethany was defining what it was, it hits so close to home. I all of a sudden feel like I need a therapist. It's like, like, wow, that is like spot on. You nailed me right there. But
nailed you in the field.
Yeah, and I know I'm not alone. That's the funny thing, is that I know everybody kind of struggles with this, right? And we overcompensate, right, or overplan, like you said, or we get to the point where we feel we procrastinate because we're just not too sure where to go. And I think So where does this, I know you're not like a medical expert at this or anything, right? So I don't want to dig too deeply into the psychoses of this, right? But just what your thoughts are as far as like, because as I'm thinking it through, there's like, so could you use the term just like insecurities that applies to this, or some other, things that are obviously closely related but overlap? I mean, it can't just be this one thing.
Well, and even as Kristin said, I mean, you look at kind of all of these people who are out there kind of saying out there in the world, look at me and look at what I've done and how amazing am I. Most of that is also rooted in the fact that they're trying to convince themselves. I would say, like, that they're trying to kind of be out there. It's like the more people that think of them that way, then, finally it'll kind of hit home. It's, I kind of think of it as, for me, particularly, has never necessarily, I've never felt the feeling of like somebody's going to find out that I'm a fraud, but I always kind of go out with the feeling of, I don't know what I'm talking about. In the sense of like, no matter where I am, there's always going to be somebody there that knows more than me and knows that and is going to see that I haven't done my homework, let's say,
Yeah.
So I go into over preparedness, and you probably see that even in the blog with the amount of research that I did, even just for something like
I did notice
simple,
you have a lot of end notes that were very well done at the end of the blog post. It's very academic of you, and I'm sure people appreciate that. and
it's hard. I mean, academia for me, there's a reason why I didn't continue with that, because I got to a place where I was always going to be average at academia. And I knew that. And I was okay with that. But the thing with academia sometimes is you have to either convince everybody else you're not average and that you're amazing.
Yeah. You're not allowed
and
to
I
be
wasn't going to be able
academia.
to do that.
You have to be an expert at something.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to be able to do that. And a lot of it is, go walking into a room where you're full of just everybody who is just incredibly intelligent and smart and has done, 50 papers before they were the age of 12. And you're like, how is this possible? And I just knew that that was going to be so much stress on me, because I was always going to be in this place of, I don't know anything. So that's why I've kind of come out of it. But I think the phenomenon itself is this kind of way of us needing to kind of cope with this comparison that we tend to do. And we do this in our daily lives as well as our work lives, but this just happens to be a little bit more kind of focused on work.
Yeah.
One of the funny things that I came across, not funny, I guess, but one of the things I also came across is that it happens more in women.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So the research is that it's not necessarily that it's a very women-based thing, but it's been seen more in women. And it's, the reasoning behind why they don't necessarily go for the promotions and go for the kind of out there jobs and things like that, because they look at that list and go, I can't compete. Whereas men are less likely, and I'm saying this very loosely, so don't quote me on any of this.
I was going to say, I'm very my feminine side, obviously.
I know. I'm not going against male or female here, but it's just men are less likely to have that kind of same, kind of feeling, let's say, of not, I don't know, like not being where they're supposed to be, I guess. Whereas women are more so likely.
Like when we're thinking about this, I mean, obviously it's easy to think about each of us going through this in a very recent time, right? Either in this industry or how we got into the industry or some of the work we've done. But I'm just thinking to myself, going back, like, do you remember being this way as a kid, Kristin? I mean, does this like, can we like dial it back to our youth and see ourselves kind of doing the same thing back then? Or is it just that we don't feel like we know anything as kids anyways, so there's no way you can feel like an imposter? Or I don't know. I can't even think of an example where I felt this type of syndrome prior to professional work.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think that's because as a kid, you're expected to be learning, right? You're not expected to know all the things. So I think that's the main difference. And part of that expectation may be on ourselves, right? We think we have to know all the things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as a kid, in some senses, at least, you're much more willing to fail. Although, Bethany, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that again, for girls and young women, that even that tends to stop at some point around middle school, where you stop feeling like you can just give it a go.
I think interestingly, from my own experience, I felt like in school, when it came to knowing things, that was okay to like not know things and to learn. But when it came to like social situations, it wasn't okay. You always kind of felt like, what am I doing? But nobody talked about like the fact that nobody knew what they were doing when it came to social situations.
Yeah.
And then as you get kind of older, you have this idea of, well, I think it's a cultural thing of adults have it going on. And it might be like, as kids, you see adults and you're like, you look up to them and you think, okay, life is perfect for them and they have the money and the cars and the whatever. And so that's what you aspire to, is this, I'm an adult, I have it sorted. Because apparently, I don't know, we reach out of university and we magically become adults, or like you have that first kid or whatever, you know, and we're magically like, I am now perfect adulting. But it's obviously clear with all of the memes that you see that everybody's still in that place of like, I think I'm still a kid. Like I still don't know how to navigate A, the work environment, and B, the social environments. And now I have, you know, I don't have kids, but you'd think now I have this little one that's looking up to me to tell them what to do with life, and I'm still figuring it out. So, you know, you just get into this. I think there's maybe a lot more pressure as well.
Yeah.
Social side, it's like, you know, gotten to a place where it's like, well, you should know because you've gotten out of the okay places to, I don't know, like experiment. You know, it's like your experimentation gets to be done once you reach this certain age, and then therefore now everything is sorted.
So what?
Which doesn't happen.
What do we do to combat this? Let's go there right off the bat. And you know, like, do we just accept it, or is there I don't know, something that we should be doing to fix it? Like, should we all meditate and do yoga and feel a little bit better about ourselves? I mean, I don't know. Kristin, have you gone far enough down this road yet to figure out how to fix it?
The thing that has been fixing it for me is just not comparing myself to other people. I'm me. I've been in this industry for 4 going on 5 years. I don't know what I'm talking about, and that's fine. And I think it's me being very transparent about that in my blog, to other newbies, allowing myself to have that transparency and not just sort of in myself, but actually speaking to it, I think has been really helpful, because I do get people who are like, oh yeah, I feel that way as well. And it's a breath of fresh air, I think, to actually talk about it. So that's been huge. But I'm also transparent with people who want to employ me. You know, I say, this is what I like to do. This is what I'm good at. But I don't know everything. I don't have 20 years experience in this, but I'm a quick study and I'll get you where you want to go. So that transparency has been huge. But bottom line, it's, you got to stop comparing yourself to people. And that's super hard. But I think that is the biggest change that has helped me.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is maybe a mismatch in expectations, right? Because I'm sure a lot of people would look at your blog, Kristin, me being one of them, and go, wow, that work doesn't look like just beginners examples and little tiny projects she's working on. Those are great. That's some really good stuff there, you know. I mean, and you know, on the quality scale, really stands out, you know, relative to your peers in the industry. But yet at the same time, you know, you might be thinking to yourself, I just kind of threw that together. It was just kind of a practice thing, or it's not really my best work. And as I think about that sort of mismatch of expectations or perceptions, that's exactly what Bethany's blog post was saying is kind of part of the whole syndrome. So even though we kind of battle it with trying to be authentic and trying to be honest and open, because I do the same thing, I think we still feel it, right? I mean, maybe it doesn't impact us as much, and it's not such a heavy burden, but that kind of being authentic and honest about it, I think kind of also defines it, right? I mean, if I read the blog correctly, Bethany?
Sorry, say that again. Yeah, last sentence.
I know I'm being kind of confusing in my own head, but I'm just trying to think it through. It's like, so there's if, you know, we think one way about ourselves and the work we do, others feel differently and perceive it differently and at a different level. We try to combat our feelings of insecurity about that by being open and honest and telling people, hey, this isn't my best work, or hey, this is just a beta. I'm still working on it. It's going to get better, right? I sometimes wonder if I push this idea of iterative development now because of this syndrome that I might have, right? Like, am I out here telling everybody we really should do iterative development because it's never done, right? You can always be getting better at it. And I'm all of a sudden scratching my head thinking, wait a minute, maybe that's just me and my insecurities. Maybe everybody else is out there going, no, I finished it. It's done. It's the best it's going to be. And they're okay with that. But because of this dang syndrome, I can't get my head around being done.
Yes, and I think that speaks a little bit to maybe a bit of perfectionism as well, which usually goes hand in hand.
I was going to say, is that a thing too?
Yeah, everything's a thing. So I think I think the way that I have to think about it, so I tend to ebb and flow. I'm definitely a perfectionist, and so I hold myself to a very high standard, but I also have to the way that I work on that is I have to be content with where I'm at as well, and also give myself props for being where I'm at, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I wrote this blog, right, for Impostor Phenomenon, and I was like, I did putting it out there. I don't know what it's going to be. It's not going to be great. Everybody's going to think I'm silly, right? And then it gets this really great reaction that I never in a million years could have thought would ever have happened. And now I have to go, it wasn't a fluke, and be okay with the fact that you said something that people have, that needed to meet towards, I guess. So you put something out there that people like and are interested in, and you must have done it in a way that people were able to link to, and that's pretty cool. And I have to tell myself that. So being in instructional designs for since December, I'm very clearly not at the level of knowledge that there could be, right? Will I ever be? God knows, we'll see. If my brain decides to take on all of the knowledge in the world, I'll be like big egghead or whatever. I don't know. But I have to be okay that I'm 7-8 months in, and I have a lot of I have a lot more knowledge than I thought I had. And I'm able to have conversations with people in the chat about things, and they've been doing it for years. And I have to give myself a bit of a pat on the back for that. And then be okay with, I must be doing pretty good.
Must be doing good.
So I go in that place, and then I also have to make sure that whatever goals I'm setting, even if I'm comparing myself to others, I'm making sure that those goals. So if I look at somebody and go, I want to be them or be whatever they are to me, make sure that those goals are relevant to me, if that makes sense. So not, I have to be them. I have to completely take over their whole world and, be like Game of Thrones Arya Stark and just take their face. But more so that I'm going to adapt that to what is actually going to suit me. So I might not ever be to the technical knowledge of Kristin Anthony, but what can I do to make that goal a little bit closer to what actually fits me in my life and the potential that I have. Now I could aim for that, you should always aim for high, but at the moment, sometimes it's better to make things a little bit more realistic.
Yeah. Kristin, where are you at with that?
So, Brett, when you were talking about iterative development, I sort of thought, I get your point, but on the other hand, the important part is the shipping it, right? Because it's not false that a thing could be better. That is a true thing. But the important part is that you get to a point where you actually ship it.
Yeah.
I think where the imposter syndrome would get crippling is at the point where you stop yourself from shipping at any point. And so, yes, we perhaps iterative development is partially, I want to make it better. But I think that's also just true. yes, I want to make it better. Yes, it could be better because I don't know all the things. But the important part is that I have put it out there now.
Yep.
Well, and we're asked right now in the way that the world is, we're asked to, be and hold so much information and to take in so much information and to, and then the moment that, we have our smartphones that let us, tell us things, then we get kind of ridiculed for not having that information in our heads anymore and not carrying around like encyclopedias or, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of pressure right now that it's like we all have to know it all, but also know everything that's in the internet and then know everything that's new that's going to come out. And it's just, it's never going to happen. Like if you can take one thing away, we're never going to like reach that kind of pinnacle of knowledge ever. We're always going to be just seeking towards it because knowledge is ever changing.
Until we reach the singularity. At that point, we'll have all the knowledge.
Yes, right. And boy,
all the knowledges.
That's a whole nother show.
I know. But I think it kind of feeds into that a little bit as well, is this kind of pressure to be everything.
Yep. So Craig dropped a question in the Q&A. He says, who in our chat doesn't feel like an imposter? Do you disagree with this phenomenon? Which I think is a great question. Is there anybody that is like, you totally can't relate to what it is that we're talking about? This is like something that's just never crossed your mind? And don't worry, we won't totally make fun of you and ostracize you and kick you out of the group or anything. We just really want to know.
That makes sense. AJ's saying doesn't really feel it. And I think he even mentioned when the initial kind of chat went up on Twitter that he feels it when he's in kind of conversations about, I think, accounting or such. I could be saying this wrong, but AJ feels it with accounting, but doesn't necessarily feel it in L&D. And I think that's gonna happen eventually. The moment that you kind of feel like you've mastered something, and it's not necessarily that you have kind of put it to the side, but just this idea of you're content with where you're at with that subject, you're gonna kind of lose that kind of pressure of gosh, I don't have it going on. It doesn't mean that you're not continuously learning either. It just means that you're good with where you are and you're happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I think it's a great point. I think it's different with different things, but I also think it's different at any given time. And thanks everybody for dropping into the chat too, and being bold enough to answer the question. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting to read all of the responses, even though a lot of you are joking.
Yes.
About it for sure, but maybe that's part of the syndrome too, right? We make jokes to fight off our insecurities.
I feel like we just given everybody a psychosis today that they didn't have yesterday.
Hey, you know what? If we can't do anything else for you today on TLD chat, we want to give you a reason to go see the shrink.
I know. We should have some shrinks on there. They've just now made a lot more money because of us.
We are ripe for somebody's business.
This gold.
A gold mine for the psychotherapists in your neighborhood.
I know.
You know what? Maybe we should just have at least one in the community just to kind of help us through these moments when we're all kind of feeling a little bit down on ourselves, a little insecure, a little imposter phenomenon, syndrome, whatever we want to.
I think sometimes they're fleeting moments as well. So you might not feel it like all the time, but you just get that like kind of, it could be kind of linked with the like fear of speaking in public and stuff like that as well. But this, you kind of get up in the front of an audience and you have these like, gosh, everybody's just going to run out of the room, like hating me. Yeah. And that's like, I think you just have that thought like just quickly, and then it passes and you're fine and you get on with it. Some people have it like that, some of us have it a little bit more often. I think I'm definitely going to have it a lot more often because I'm so new. hopefully as time goes by, things will kind of calm itself down. But, you know, I think the thoughts are there. We just may not kind of listen to them or not kind of pay attention as well. It's how much we're allowing it to kind of stay with us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
I think if I were to offer up any bit of advice to everybody here today as we talk about this stuff is to try not to make really, really important decisions on your life at a moment when you're feeling that, right? And to kind of step back and to maybe get some feedback from several different people that are close to you to help you through. I know I made a very huge decision in my career, and I'm not saying it was a bad decision. It certainly wasn't. It definitely got me to where I am today. But I often tell people that the reason why I left the e-learning guild was because I felt this incredible pressure of kind of everybody else putting me up on this pedestal and me feeling like I didn't really deserve it, and felt very much like there was still things that I had to do in the industry before I could actually speak to the community, to the industry about it. And it weighed very, very heavily on me. And so when an opportunity came up for me to do some of the work that I'd never done before, that I really, really felt like I needed experience at, I jumped on the opportunity and did it. And it was a fantastic experience. Like I said, don't get me wrong, but a lot of that decision was made based on this me feeling that imposter syndrome, and so as I'm reflecting back on decisions I've made and things like that, I just wanted to share that with everybody, just to say, maybe do a double take, when you're making really important decisions in your life, figure out exactly what those reasons are, when you're making a really significant call like that. So I don't know if either of you have made any really, like, if you're thinking back, did you make a really big decision based on feeling like an imposter?
That was my decision. Well, that and money, but that was a lot of the decision. I didn't stay in academia and money.
I could add that in there too.
Also money, yeah.
The end money always comes along.
It's incredibly expensive.
There's a bit of an influence there.
But a lot of that had to do with, I had to kind of decide what I was willing to kind of put up with. So could I have maybe made it in academia? Probably. I probably would have done fine. Was I willing to kind of go through the stress and the kind of the pressure and those feelings? Probably not. And I feel like I'm here now, so I feel like I've definitely made the right decision for myself in that, so it's, again, kind of making sure that the goals are aligned with where you're at and what you're okay with. But yeah, I mean, it's good to listen. You probably, for your story, it's interesting because I would have never known that, but like your story about the e-learning guild, you probably could have stayed, and even though you're on that pedestal, you would have been perfect and said the right things, and nobody would have ever seen that. But if you felt like you needed to gain an experience that you didn't have, and that was weighing on you so heavily, it was probably the right decision to go and gain that experience. Because it's about kind of the internal feelings rather than, because everybody probably would have told you, don't worry about it.
Kind of the feedback. Oh, yeah, that's kind of the feedback that I got all the time from people when I would ask, or when I would, tell them that I didn't really feel like I deserved being put up there. But, again, but this is where your article really struck close to home, because You know, felt like I was lucky, felt like I was the right place at the right time. I just knew the right people.
That does happen. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. It does. A lot of people have gotten into situations that were very lucky or they knew the right people or what have you. But I think for me, it's the importance of not letting it stop you from taking risks.
Yeah, I shouldn't feel guilty about it. I should have just said, yay me.
Yeah. To the extent that you were happy with the yay me.
I know I was. I was. I'm just, it was just one of those little voices in the back of your head that, you just you run down that path, if you will. But,
I think it's interesting. It might be something to talk about here because AJ was saying as well that learning happens in the areas where you do feel like an imposter, the unknown, the not in your comfort zone. And it might be something, it's an interesting concept that I think of when it comes to kind of learning and development, that engagement factor. So how do we kind of push them from the not knowing and the I want to do this because I'm too scared type of place, but then moving them into, well, you do know what to do and you've got it and just keep working. That's something that was interesting when I worked at the bank before and was doing kind of face-to-face training is, the first few days, you just get like the deer in the headlights look of, oh my gosh, what have I done? We worked in fraud, so it was quite heavy. But like one of the things that I would make a point to do was to have the conversation about their kind of previous experience with it. And that like, it was weird, but it like instantly, like everybody you just felt the room kind of get a little bit more comfy. They're like, oh, I do have some stuff, I do know some stuff. and then everybody kind of moved on from there. And I think that's kind of the big thing is kind of going, everybody has really valuable experience throughout their lives, even if their lives are shorter or longer or whatever, but everybody has this kind of breadth of knowledge that has come from living and being in different situations and being different people. And it is all to a certain extent valuable for whatever situations you get into.
Yeah, Kristin.
At least that's my little soapbox.
Yeah, no, you seem to have a natural knack to push yourself and to kind of get out of your comfort zone and to push into those uncomfortable spaces to teach yourself new things. Is that something that you had to learn how to do, or is it just kind of part of who you are, do you think?
I'm thinking I don't remember ever consciously trying to teach myself to be uncomfortable. I think honestly it's come from my life experience. I have often been the only person like me in a lot of different places. So discomfort is not uncommon. And the other thing is that I'm also lucky. So I sort of wanted to, when you said that, I was thinking, yeah, but that's also a thing, right? So we are just lucky sometimes.
Yeah.
Or oftentimes, as the research shows. I have a great family, and so just that ability to go and try something and not feel like if this fails, I'm gonna be on the street or something like that has definitely been a factor in me being able to say just jump into freelancing.
Right.
Something like that. I would totally understand and respect somebody who was like, well, I have a family to take care of, and so I have to keep this job. That's I don't, and I have people that if this failed, I could go home again and try and find something else. So that is absolutely a factor.
Yeah. There's, I guess, like we've been saying all along, there's always these little moments, and there's different elements when we do we fall in and out of that imposter syndrome. I think, right? It's not. I don't think it's a constant burden.
Yeah.
But it's just something that we. I think it's important that we that we're having this conversation, and that we all kind of start to recognize it. And you know, maybe as we all move forward in our careers and in our work and in training and learning and development, that it's something that we just continue to support each other on. And I think that's why communities like this are so important. I think it's really it's helpful to continue to talk about what it is that we're all struggling through. I think Cheryl's story yesterday was so fabulous for her to step up to the plate and say, this was an instance, you know, a project that I worked on that, you know, that maybe didn't turn out so well, maybe didn't turn out the way she wanted it to. And so to, you know, to talk about that in our little safe space here of our community, and getting nice feedback from everyone and having everybody feel, you know, supporting her, but also giving some really honest feedback on maybe some things that she should have done differently and whatnot. So I think that's helpful. You even mentioned it in the blog, I think, Bethany, didn't you? Some of the aspects of community. As I was reading towards the sort of the second half of the blog, I was like, that sounds an awful lot like TLD chat.
And I think that was where my kind of story fit into it. So Chris, I don't know if you had a look, but like I mentioned, kind of you when it comes to kind of changing your way of thinking about something. And then there was someone else, a person called Amy Cuddy, who had also talked about kind of teaching others and how that really kind of helped her. So kind of being able to kind of see people at kind of a lower end than you, and then you kind of almost value yourself a little bit. You know, you value where you're at more. So the third thing that I kind of have that has helped me quite a bit is this community. I mean, hence why I want to be involved, and I'm honored to be on this. It's just hearing, you know, I got to a point where basically I was like, I don't know what more, you know, in my over preparedness probably, but like, I don't know what more I can learn, you know, like, I don't know what more I can read and hear from. And, you know, I just kind of got to this like point where it was kind of freaking out. And then I found TLD chat, and I was like sitting there going, gosh, these people are still working through the same stuff that I, you know, was like trying so hard to understand within my little, my little time, that finally I was like, you know what, I need to calm it down. First of all, but also like, I was like, you know, it's almost a bit of catharsis of kind of, hey, you know, there's other people out there that are still working through the same things. And, you know, and almost seeing the people you look up to who say those same things, and you're like, okay, you know, I don't need to be stressed out as I am. Yeah. I'll get there. You know, you just, you feel like you're better, I guess, about it.
Misery loves company, right? Isn't that what they say?
Not misery,
yeah, really
just, you know, you just
saying. I mean, maybe it should just be like imposters love company or something like that. I don't know. If you're feeling like an imposter, you should enjoy the company of others. That doesn't have quite the same ring to it, I guess. It's not,
I know it's not quite short and succinct that we'd like.
Well, is there any part of this that we've missed today? Anybody in the chat? Anybody else want to jump in and add your 2 cents in the video as we get, we've only got about 9 minutes left or so.
Well, I'm sort of interested, Brent, perhaps from your point of view.
Sure.
You know, we've got Bethany on today. She's a newbie. I'm a newbie. We don't have that many communities that sort of allow newbies to get up and talk and present their particular expertise, right? And so I'm wondering sort of what you think about as an L&D community. You know, there are Twitter chats and all that. That's great, but it's not sort of the same as sort of getting up in front of people, either here or in a conference. And I was wondering what you think about sort of helping newbies get that chance to speak.
I would say, hands down, in all of the event stuff that I've done, and Luis might be able to back me up on this with everything that he's done. You kind of, I love the newbie stories more than anything else. Like having you two on here today to me is like fantastic. This is exactly what I picture and what I want a TLD chat to be, right? I mean, this is it. Otherwise, it just becomes this vacuum of a bunch of experts that have been doing it for 20 years, just like grousing on about, grovel about the industry, and we've all got baggage, and everything's just horrible. It's great to get the newbies in and to get the fresh perspective and to see things anew, right? I think in Zen philosophy, or maybe it's Buddhism, I get all my Eastern religions mixed up, but it's the beginner's mind. To me, it's my favorite thing. And I think this probably creates my imposter syndrome, because I constantly feel like I wake up with a beginner's mind every morning. I feel like I'm starting over, like it's like I'm brand new with this, and I have no idea, what's going to happen. So it's just, there's always something to talk about, because I'm always feeling like I'm relearning, stuff over and over again. And maybe it's confirming that, okay, I do get this, especially when new technology comes out, for example, and it's super easy for some people, not so easy for other people. And I say, you know what, this new thing, it's probably, this looks like something that could get legs in 5-10 years, whatever, and this could be really important. And when you start having new folks come into the industry or the field and start chatting with us, and they're like, and it just becomes, it's very obvious, because they speak so freely about how easy it is to do this and easy it is to do that, and you don't come to the table with the baggage, right? Or whatever it might be. And maybe it's a methodology, or maybe you're not, you don't come to the table with a lot of the same baggage that more experienced professionals come to. I don't even know if I'm explaining this right, but it's just, in my experiences, the best conversations have always come from having new folks talk about it. And it helps everybody else. Really, it's better than me telling everybody else that's been doing this for 20 years, hey, you guys, you better start doing things differently, because they're like, yeah, Brent, shut up, whatever. It's just Brent doing, being all young and weird again, and just spouting off. But then when all the new people come in and they start saying the same thing, then I'm like, told you so. It's a bit of a confirming thing. And so it's good. And it's always good to see these conversations impact the industry as a whole. So I don't think you guys really realize how much impact you have, stepping into the industry. I know you feel new. I know you feel, maybe like you've got a whole lot that you want to still learn from, those of us that have been in the industry a lot longer. But, we all, I'll speak for everybody. I mean, we learn just as much from everybody that's new to the industry, trying things out for the first time. Y'all are much braver than we are too, just trying out new stuff and trying out new tools and building new things and taking risks and doing things that we might not take an approach at. So I don't know if that answers your question, Kristin, but it's my favorite. And to help you speak, Kristin, if that's something that you really want to do, we can absolutely help you do that. I mean, if you want to get on, event programs and get sessions accepted, and we'll all work together and help you submit a really killer presentation and get it done for you.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we got Mike into one, right, Mike? Mike asked Luis and I for a little feedback on his submission, and he got accepted. So Luis and I have our very first success story for helping somebody get selected for an event. So we've got a good track record, Kristin. So you can trust us.
Brent, was it for TLDC though?
Oh no, it wasn't.
Was it for TLDC though?
That's what I mean. I know it's almost
I don't know
too
if the
easy. We're
tracker
just
we
like,
can really believe it.
just come and speak at ours, and it makes us, look good, right? No, we got Mike at a different. I don't even remember what you submitted for, Mike. I think it might be Learning Solutions. I'm trying to catch up here.
Yeah, you said the Guild Conference.
Guild Conference.
Yeah. I think that's the Learning Solutions event. Yep. All good stuff. So so Kristin,
that is true.
I mean, that's like I said, that's why we're here. So I mean, if we can help, in any way, we kind of know how the whole system works and little things you can do. It doesn't guarantee anything, but I can, I'd put money on it that we could get you somewhere. I think we can pull that off. Right, Luis? Hey, back me up on this, man.
We're going to start taking bets. And it's going to, all the proceeds will go towards the TLD chat. So start betting now. Use the become a member button and just,
there you
go crazy.
Right? You're digging in. There you go. Thanks. So the TLD betting pool, right? We need somebody build that app for us, right? Figure that out. Well, all right, we're getting close to 9 o'clock, and so I'm going to have to let you two go. But again, thank you so much for hanging out with us today, and Bethany, thanks for writing the blog post for us, and
Yeah. Sorry, Kristin.
No, that's what blogging's all about, right?
I did reference it properly.
Referencing other people is what blogging is all about. I think half of my blog posts started with, I was reading this blog post the other day and I just felt like I had to write about it, So I totally get it. But yeah. Anyways, so, all right, this is all good. So let's just do the old round the horn real quick. Kristin, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so I am on Twitter at Anthchris. My blog is knanthony.com, and I am this close to releasing my app in beta, and I will make sure that everybody here knows about it.
Oh, awesome. All right. Thank you. That's fantastic. Bethany, how about you?
I'm at ecom with a small e _ Bethany with a big B on Twitter. You can check out ecomscotland.com and .co.uk if you want to check out the company that I work for. But I also have my own personal website, Bethany Taylor ID at .co.uk, which has not much on it, but some of my more writing. If you want to give me some feedback and want to chat to me,
awesome.
I would love it.
All right, you two. Thanks again so much. I'm going to close out your videos, but you'll still be here. Good to see you guys. Thank you. All right, there's another TLD chat in the can, and I might add another fantastic conversation. Not your typical learning and development conversation, I might add, but, just equally as important. I'm amazed at how many people actually struggle with this as well. So I didn't get to follow all of the chat. It looked like the chat was hopping with feedback from everybody. Thank you guys so much for hanging out in the chat and offering up your feedback. Oh, rats, I'm sorry I didn't get to the last question there, Craig. Thanks for popping that in. But if anybody wants to, if you're wondering what in the heck were they even talking about today, before I wrap up, let me just share my screen one more time. Hit up tldc.us, go to the About link over here and click on the blog. And that will take you to the blog post that Bethany wrote for us today. What is the imposter phenomenon? That was our conversation today, and it was fantastic. Kristin Anthony joined us as well, and sharing with us her how she deals with it, and some of her project work and issues around that as well. So. A great conversation, something that I think we'll be talking a lot more about in the near future. But anyways, hang out with us again tomorrow. We've got another fantastic guest. We have Ross Garner on, and the rest of the week is also filled with guests. So It's a great week here on TLD Chat. So be sure to join us and hang out with us. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.